Cooper DeJean, outside corner slash safety for the Iowa Hawkeyes. 6'1", nearly 205 pounds, over 31 inches in the arm reach. Some say he's a safety. Some say that he's a nickel corner. Some say that he's an outside corner. All I can say is he tested well at the combine, guys. 4.43 40 with a 1.53 10 split, 38.5-inch vertical with that 124-inch broad jump. It's a guy that had a lot of production. 116 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 7 interceptions, and 13 pass breakups over the past 2 seasons. This young man could be a guy without a home or a position, or he could be a guy that's logged 1,100 snaps on the outside, and then also 300-plus snaps in those hybrid roles for Iowa, which kind of leads us into that discussion about what is Iowa's defense, which is a 4-2-5 base structure, mostly playing out of an underfront with a Leo backer. Basically means your nose tackle is going to be aligned either to the strong side if they're playing under or to the weak side if they're playing over. And you just got to know where your Sam or your Leo linebacker is, guys. So Sam if it's strong side, Leo if it's weak. Normally you're going to see that guy with kind of a stand-up, overhang type position on the line there. And then they got that unique cash linebacker role, which is the hybrid linebacker, safety, nickel corner role that they play here inside of that 4-2-5 structure. And then in this particular play, guys, I took the time to show you Cooper DeJean, who is aligned outside as a field cornerback on this particular play. Just felt like might as well throw that in there, guys. We talk about it. All right, at this point, guys, I'm going to take you inside the film, and I'm going to show you Cooper DeJean playing inside of Phil Parker's system and just kind of give you examples of him playing some of that cash linebacker slash nickel, that hybrid nickel safety linebacker role that they play there. And then also show you him playing the field versus the boundary and just kind of give you a feel for how he would fit if he were drafted to a team like the Eagles. He's definitely going to a team that plays zone-heavy stuff. We're going to start off by taking a look at those nearly 1,200 snaps at outside corner with Cooper DeJean, starting off with the boundary. We can see here, he's a ridiculously good run defender. It's something that's, you could say about all of Parker's defensive backs. They all kind of come up and play the run really well at Iowa. All right, you'll notice he's aligned outside as a cornerback, mostly as a left cornerback. Basically meaning left side, so if you look to your left, that's what you're talking about, bottom of your screen, basically, as opposed to the right side of your screen. I think he's a natural fit as a boundary cornerback, though, if he is played outside, so the difference being your boundary cornerback is normally your right cornerback, so it's normally like what you see with James Bradbury as opposed to Darius Slay. His ability to locate the football, next level. You can see him able to get up there, take the ball away, and then just be an athlete, guys. I mean, I don't care if you play him with the left. I don't care if you play him with the right. I think he's going to fit better at the right, but Iowa did not care either way. They just put him at the left cornerback, and they said, if it's boundary, it's boundary. If it's field, it's field. We're going to let this young man play. All right, once again, we're going to see him here in run defense. Just kind of everything, they block up the middle, spill everything to the outside, and they rally around it. Note here about Phil Parker's players being really tough. Something Vic Fangio wants to do as well. He wants to bounce runs outside and then have these cornerbacks kind of clean up. Left cornerback is where you normally see Darius Slay play, as we talked about earlier. Right cornerback is normally where we see James Bradbury play. When you play the field side, that's normally because you're really good in space. So you're talking about really good lateral athletes normally with very smooth hips. So it's not just straight line speed. Cooper is underrated when it comes to understanding play angles, though. So what he may lack in that hip fluidity, this young man definitely gets the angles, as you saw right there as he took that ball away. I mean, there's been some times where people got free from him. They got a little separated from him, and he did his thing. But we will be competing and trying to figure out what you do if you got Kaylee Ringo over there and Slay. Then, that's why I'm thinking like Coop probably makes a lot of sense for the Eagles as a right cornerback because of that tightness in his hips. But, like we see here, yeah, all right, he gets a little out of alignment, but then he understands angles and says, I don't need to get back over top and, restack this player. I just need to beat him to the ball. I just need to have the advantage when it comes to the angle, which is what he did here on that replay. I'm curious about what teams will do with him when they draft him if they play him outside. Like I said, guys, I consider him to be a boundary corner, mostly as a right cornerback. Most teams in the modern NFL do not distinguish between field or boundary, but your right cornerback will play more boundary normally than field, just as like your left cornerback will normally play a little bit more field than it will boundary. Just kind of how it works out, guys. And I do think there's a little James Bradbury to his game. He's a better athlete than James is, but with that said, you can see there's a little tightness in the hips, but kind of a tough mentality. Difference being is I think Coop is really, really strong in the run game. All right, cash linebacker and nickel, guys. So this is like kind of this idea of this hybrid player. This is something specific to Phil Parker's system. It's a creative way of kind of finding these hybrid players that are kind of like safety, linebacker, nickel corner types, right? I mean, this is a way that he was able to compensate his scheme to play some nickel and not be so strong on the 4-3. Look at this young man. He's playing over on this side, he has the flat responsibility here, right? Once again, Cooper's playing the cash linebacker role. Good way of keeping athleticism on the field. So here you got another really good athlete that's tough nose, hard nose, can kind of, he's not a true linebacker. He's not a true nickel corner. He's somewhere in between those two. But look at his eyes. Just his ability to read the play and close in and really stop this before the running back can get momentum, right? On this play, we can see Cooper aligned similar to how we align our nickel corner. So look to your kind of bottom of your screen here. All right, watch him kind of fall back. Guys, his eyes are all over that quarterback, and he has a really good feel for the route development here. He knows where these routes are. He's going to flip his hips. He's going to get right in the pattern in the path of this throw, and that's his football now. He is one of the best defensive backs in this class at locating the ball in the air. He's up there, guys. I don't think there's many that I would say are above him. He's one of the better ones. One more time with the cash linebacker role, guys. Once again, out of quarters coverage. You can see him highlighted and circled here. All right, they're going to go back. He sees this. Look, watches the play develop. Eyes are true to it. He's really good at reading that route progression, and he always seems to be in the right spot where he needs to be. The other important thing here, guys, is to take note of just how fast he got there and shut things down. Now we're going to look at his special teams prowess. I do think if you're talking about Cooper, you got to also factor in the fact that he's a really good special teams player. So, I mean, he will play punt returner, and he will also play gunner on special teams. So he's going to find a way of helping your team out no matter what. And I think that's a positive for this young man. As we stated with a lot of these prospects that are defensive backs that we're looking going outside the top 20, there's always going to be something. There's no perfect prospect at that position when you're getting into the 20s. With Cooper DeJean, there's a few things to kind of consider here. Number one, he couldn't compete at the combine because he broke, I can't remember if it was a fracture in his tibia or the fibula, but there was a leg injury, caused him not to be able to actually compete there. Had to wait for his pro day, which was pretty dang good. I mean, he really performed at his pro day. So that's going to be concern number one, right? Is you don't have an exact clean bill of health, but I don't think it's like a large looming thing per se. Thing number two is it's great to be versatile. It's also concerning to not necessarily know exactly where your position is, right? I mean, it's really tough to say what teams will see this young man as. I mean, they can have different beliefs about where he plays. They could see him as a tall nickel. They could see him as a safety. They could see him as a field corner. They could see him as a boundary corner. Every team could be a little different, and that's going to change the valuation of where you draft that guy, to be quite honest. And the last thing I will say is on his film, one of the things that stands out to me is missing from it, you don't see a lot of man coverage there. You just don't see a lot of like mod, man on deep. You don't see a lot of man everywhere he goes. And you don't see like a lot of, cover one or even cover zero where they're risking it. So I don't know how he would hold up there, right? I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying we don't have film for me to grade it. I can't grade it for you because I don't see it on his film anywhere. So that leaves me a little curious here. I did go back and watch some of his Marvin Harrison film just to kind of get a feel for like what I think he'll be. Look, he's a little tight in the hips. I think Marvin Harrison got free from him a few times. But in saying that, while Marvin Harrison broke free a few times, you can see the recovery this young man has. This guy has really good recovery. Gets back into play, breaks things up, makes it tough, makes the completion tough. But I will say a couple of better timed throws and better placed throws. Probably different results on some of these plays if I'm being quite honest. But, hey, man, Cooper DeJean, I don't think he's a bad player at all, guys. I think this is a pretty good player. I think it's just a matter of I don't know where to place his position. I don't know where they're going to align him. And without that information, I'm grasping at straws, guys, unfortunately. It'll be interesting to see what happens to this young man during the draft and post-draft.